Venus in the sign of Taurus. She's so sensual. She's so intensely refined in her aesthetic taste. She loves the pleasures of life. She loves the perfume and the chocolate and the senses. She really does love to be loyal and committed and enduring and lasting in love. If you are with a Venus and Taurus in your love life, unless that Venus is on a malefic star like it is for Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, because they're Venus and Taurus on a malefic star, you're going to find that your partner, Venus and Taurus, will be trustworthy, will stick by your side no matter what. Now, I'm going to talk in depth about how it is to be a Venus and Taurus, if that's something you've been born with. This is a part of my new series about Venus through the signs, and we're going to do it every time Venus enters into a new sign. So, for example, she's moving into the sign of Taurus on March the 19th, 2023 when I'm recording this, but this will be an evergreen video. It means you'll always be able to access this as a Venus and Taurus storyline. So let's talk about Venus and Taurus in terms of a feeling of Venus and Taurus, because I'm born with that, and so I can really speak to it. I mean, first of all, the feeling comes through this song I'm about to play for you, and I'm going to say that I have to play it for a short time only, because if I don't, I'll get a copyright strike. But get the vibe of this brooding song, okay? This really sexy, sultry song. Sexy, sultry, passionate, brooding, earthy, Taurus, sensuality, pleasure, etc. I don't know if you recognize it. That was over 30 seconds. I'm going to get a copyright notice, so I hope I caught that for you. That's Black Velvet by Alana Miles. Go listen to it. Another Venus and Taurus sensual, sexy vibe song. May have been like that old Rod Stewart song. I'll try to sing it for you. If you think I'm sexy and you love my body, come on, baby, let me know. Maybe Justin Timberlake's brings the sexy back song. You know, I'm just coming up with some ideas to get the vibe, to get the feeling. And I'm trying to give you a sense of it rather than a laundry list, you know. Earth, Taurus, Earth. Let's talk about that. So earthy signs are earthy. They're down to earth. They're practical. They're loyal. They're committed. They're resourceful energies. Of course, Taurus is a refinement energy to do with finances. So a lot of people with Venus in Taurus are absolutely picky about their standards. I'll give you an example. In general, Venus loves pleasure in any sign. She'll take her pleasure how she can get it. Venus and Scorpio, pleasure is a rave, you know, or a seance or something. Venus and Taurus is like, what can you imbibe? What can you taste? What can you feel? What can you touch? That is, you know, feels good on your body, tastes good in your mouth. You know, my first husband used to have an expression called a mouth orgasm when he was tasting something that just blew his senses out to, you know, the next universe. And I love that because I'm a Venus and Taurus and I get it. You know, so when we drink wine, because all Venuses do love wine, all Venus and all signs love different kinds of wines, different kinds of alcohol, you know. But a Venus and Taurus, oh yeah, we got to have the fine wine, the really good stuff. Let me turn off that dinging sound. That was somebody coming through my text messages. I apologize. But you get the gist, right? So, you know, I'm a Venus and Taurus, and I'd rather throw a whole bottle of wine down the sink if it's crappy, if it tastes awful, you know, if it's cheap. You know, when someone comes to my party and they bring some kind of cheap wine and I'm serving up this super expensive, you know, luscious refinement of wine snobbery, I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, that's good for cooking, but you're not going to drink that stuff, are you? You're not going to really drink that, are you? Okay, just the same way I don't like to put, like, in my risotto, like a Dom Perignon. I'll grab some kind of cheap bubbly or something like that, or cheap white wine. So there's a refinement, there's an exquisite pleasure, taste, orientation for everyone who has Venus and Taurus. Now, Venus and Taurus is a fixed sign. Fixed means stable, enduring, and doesn't prefer change, which is why Venus and Taurus tends to be stable in love. You can count on them to be committed, to be loyal and steadfast in love and in their friendships. If you're friends with a Venus and Taurus person, they don't give up on you. Honestly, you might give up on them, but they're going to keep on going. You know, the old word due diligence, or seeing the best in everyone, or just committing to going the long haul. That's true for the love relationships of the Venus and Taurus people. It's definitely true for the friendships. Oh man, are they loyal. So they're also very much about looking at life through what is beautiful, what brings a sense of beauty. And most Venus and Taurus people will have flowers in their homes, or they will spend time to put paintings and art in their home, or they will decorate their home. And the refinement of how things look and feel is around, does it feel beautiful? Now, if you spend any time in the home of Venus Taurus people like me, you'll see flowers everywhere. Like there's never a time when I don't have flowers in my home. They're behind me, they're on my shelf, they're in my rooms, and plants as well, you know, earthy things in the home. Also colors. I don't like sterile, really cold colors. If I'm going to have a white wall, it's creamy white. It's buttery yellow. It's warm. It's inviting. It's earthy, and it's, you know, it brings the earth feel into the home. So just think about the people you've known, or if that's you, what that has been like to know them. When we talk about famous people with this energy, we're looking at people who have a natural sense of refinement. Princess Diana was an example of that. I mean, you know, she was always just so classy in the way she dressed, so sophisticated, refined, and regal, even without being a princess beauty. You will also find that Venus and Taurus people tend to have a nice voice. Now, even if they can't sing, because I certainly can't, sometimes they are singers like Debbie Harry and Prince and Ella Fitzgerald and all of that. They can sing, right? But I can't sing, but people say that I have a decent voice on YouTube. And most people have always said that I should have been in like radio because I have a radio voice or something. So you'll find that Venus and Taurus people have a timbre to their voice and have a resonance to their voice. And some of them are amazing singers. When we're getting to the sexy vibe, I mean, some people think Johnny Depp and Prince have a sort of sex appeal. Marlon Brando, Venus and Taurus, so same sexy appeal, sexy sex appeal. A weird one is the actor Christopher Walken. You know, you're like, oh, really? But you know, he looks like an alien, but he's a sexy alien. He's a sexy alien. Now, I'm going to go a little deeper than the surface. I'm going to talk about what happens when you are a Venus and Taurus, or you're with a Venus and Taurus, and you betray them. They'll try to make you friends anyway. They really love the enduring story, unless you've done something absolutely horrible to them. So as a Venus and Taurus, I was once with a narcissist who stalked me afterwards and bad vibed me all over town. And then I cut him off and blocked him, right? But we'd rather not. So I am best friends, and I go to parties with, and I go to, you know, celebrations with, and I go to weddings of my exes, my ex-partners, and all love relationships are in my life. Venus and Taurus holds people dear, and they're extremely loyal, and they're extremely conscientious around keeping those relationships alive, because it's an enduring, fixed, stable energy, earth fixed. If you're a Venus and Taurus, you've been going through a time in which Uranus, the god of electric change, the god of sudden shifts, has been moving through Taurus. This can mean a big change in your Taurian energy, being more original, being more out of the box, you know, kind of breaking the mold in how you love and who you love and what you value. Venus has been there since 2019 in Taurus and will be there all the way through until 2026. So it's going to be a once in a lifetime shift of how your natal Venus and Taurus may have a new energy of breaking the mold and being more outside the standard box of Venus and Taurus that I tried to describe to you. For me, with my 0-degree Venus in the sign of Taurus, I experienced this Uranus transit back in the day, right? Back in 2019, when it was really in the early degrees. I think I experienced that mostly around a willingness to break free of where I had been living and moved to Montreal. That's because my Venus and Taurus is in the house of home and land and real estate for me. So I did wild, crazy things like drive my car across the country and set up shop for 3 years in Montreal, Canada, instead of Vancouver, Canada. But each of your charts will be different. Finally, when you're born, your Venus and Taurus is definitely the most active for the first X number of years of your life. So, I mean, this is a kind of a complicated astrology for you, but I'm going to try to share it. So there's something called solar arc directions. That means that you can take your Venus and Taurus and roughly move her ahead about 1 degree every year of your life. So if I have a 0-degree Venus and Taurus, that means that when I am, how old? 30 years later, right? 30, she's going to move into Gemini. And then after that, overlay of Gemini for 30 years. So for me, ages 30 to 60, Venus in Gemini was the story. And there's a lot of nuance with it that would be a whole class with me on how to take your progressed Venus and overlap it with your natal Venus and make a meaning of those energies. Now, the other thing I want to say is that imagine you're born with Venus and Taurus at 29 degrees. Wow. That means by the time you turn 1 year old, Venus was already in the next sign of Gemini. So you are always a Venus in Taurus, but right away you've been experimenting with pleasure and love and Gemini style. What does that mean? Bisexuality. I love men, I love women. I love anything. I love aliens. I'll just go all over the place. And I'm fickle and mutable and changeable in love. Change my mind, even though Venus in Taurus is steadfast. No, in Gemini, she's kind of a bit of a mix it up a bit. A player, not necessarily, but willing to experiment a bit more, be more sociable than normally a Venus and Taurus would be more willing to have relationships with same-sex relationships, etc. So I'm going to confess to you that during my Venus transit from ages 30 to 60, as she moved through the sign of Gemini, I did indeed have female lovers in my life. And they were just short-lived lipstick lesbian fun times, right? But that's the Venus in Gemini. Quickies for you to like ingest, digest. By the way, when a Venus in Taurus as resorts to blocking someone, like on social media, or just not speaking to them anymore, a friend, a lover, anything like that, it is forever once they make that decision, because it takes so much for Venus and Taurus people to get to that point where they give up on the person. Now, you always want to have a friend with Venus and Taurus, because no matter how crappy you treat them, they won't give up on you till you actually are like totally unredeemable. Finally, there's this energy about the resurrections of, gods of resurrection, like Jesus or Osiris, or in Sumerian tradition, Dumuzi. These are resurrection god stories. Okay. And they're also bull gods. And I want to bring that up because Venus is always, she's in Taurus. She's connected to the archetype of the bull and the Taurus constellation. And Taurus is always associated in ancient mythologies with resurrection gods, okay? And I want to say there's something about that, because basically, if you look at the tarot cards, a Hierophant card, Hierophant, Hieros meaning sacred, coming from the word phanon, to reveal, the sacred revealer, which represented a high priest, the Pope, the sacred mysteries ceremonial dude, right? There's a lot about Venus and Taurus that really connects to the idea of what it is to be in the season of Taurus, okay? It's the beginning of summer. It's the Beltane fires. It's when it's when your herds are having babies, like, your cows and your sheep are starting to have babies. It's spring, it's calving and life and fertility. And it's really connected to that vibe of the death and rebirth energy. So we come out of the winter and then spring season starts, and that's the vernal equinox, which is not necessarily where we see the flowers coming up from beneath the ground, right? Not yet. I mean, so when we move into the Taurus season around April 20th to May 20th, and we're looking at the earth, we're starting to see this gorgeous life springing everywhere from what was the dead, hard, rocky soil. We're starting to see the beginning of fertility. So Venus Taurus people, they're very much like that. They're almost about how to regenerate, rejuvenate, or enliven something in your life, if you're your friend, in their own lives, etc. Sometimes the Venus and Taurus people are gardeners, sometimes they're not. It's more like an archetypal energy of regeneration, right? Because the Aries season before that, like the March 20th to April 21st energy, that's a whole different vibe. Yes, it's spring. The days are getting longer, but depends where you live in the Northern Hemisphere, because this is a Northern Hemisphere ethos. It's still hard packs, cold, snow on the ground. It's not yet here. There's a thing called the Beltane ceremony that's Celtic or Gaelic, or goes through all of those cultures. And it's a fertility. And there's this whole idea of honoring the fertility of Earth. And this Venus and Taurus is a very much about that energy. And lastly, she's the tarot card of the Empress in the tarot. The Venus archetype symbol goes with her. She is a energy of fertility. She is about abundance. She is about wealth and prosperity. It's very Lakshmi energy in the tradition of India. So looking for that archetype in your own chart and understanding where you are going to tend to prosper. When you're looking for a love relationship, when you're a Venus and Taurus person, you are also looking to experience relationships with stable, loyal, committed, sensual energies. And you're also looking to find refinement. And yes, I'm going to say it. You're going to say to somebody, well, you will never say I love you, but you have no money, so you're out of here. That would never happen because Venus and Taurus people are kind, stubborn, but kind. But you know that your life is to experience sensual pleasure and wealth. You want it. It also depends which house Venus is in your chart, of course, it's going to matter. But the gist of it is there. So a lot of Venus and Taurus people are preferential to um, finding resourceful mates, not necessarily looking for a prince or a king or whatever, or the Princess Diana married a king, but a prince and now a king, but also to know that there's nothing wrong with the fact that you don't want to live on food stamps, or you don't want to be in love with someone in which your whole life is in a food stamp mode or something like that. To see the dark shadow side of this Venus in Taurus would be to be looking for a sugar mama or a sugar daddy. That would be the shadow. And also in love, and also to value money over friendship, or to value wealth over kindness or something like that. It's very rare to see Venus do the shadow, but she can do that if she's besieged by malefics in your chart. If she's in a hard aspect to Saturn or Mars, it could be difficult. The other way, I have a Venus Saturn square. It's a hard aspect, but it hasn't shown up in any of the shadow ways that I'm describing. But I've also gotten myself into relationships where Saturn says keep on keeping on, and I go past the expiry date. Venus is like loyal and committed and stable in Taurus, and Saturn's like squaring from Aquarius going, hang in there. And I'm like, yeah, right now I'm like just lost my whole health. And I feel like I remember one breakup with a narcissist guy, and I ended up with pneumonia afterwards. And I was critically sick for like a year. And I had all these health challenges come out of the year-long stress with the only boyfriend I ever blocked and ever cut off from my life. The therapist said, why do you keep moving the goalpost? And that's to say the other thing, Venus and Taurus, you will move the goalpost. Lastly, if you have a malefic star like Algol, which is about alcohol and extreme and intense and calamitous and difficult energy on that Venus and Taurus, because Algol is around 26, 27 Taurus. Yes, you may have some challenges with your Venus and Taurus. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard both had Venus, Taurus, Algol, and we all know the whole story. Holy man. I mean, that's why I thought there's no villain here. There's two toxic Venus and Algol love relationship people combining forces, and you see what happened in that long, really audaciously explicit transit about their really toxic love relationship. Okay, so I am finished. And there's a kind of a joke about that. Venus and Taurus, Venus on Algol is to do with the Medusa myth. And at one point in the trial, Amber Heard had her hair coiled up with a big, like what do you call it, a streak of color. And she actually looked like she had Medusa hair. I mean, seriously. But think about the voice of Johnny Depp. I mean, he's a singer, but just think about the timbre of his voice. I guess Amber, but no one could stand her affect, but her voice, And by the way, I'm not anti-Amber Heard, and I'm not pro Johnny Depp. I'm just talking about a trial, because I know I got in trouble with my Amber Heard Johnny Depp video. People thought I was anti Amber Heard. I'm not anti anybody. I'm just talking about the astrology. Alrighty. So thanks for listening. This was Venus and Taurus, because we're coming into Venus and Taurus season as I record this on March the 14th, 2023. And we'll be starting that on March the 19th. Venus goes into Taurus, and this is going to be a good video to listen to any year, forever and ever. If you are new to my channel, please hit the like button and subscribe. I don't even know who I am. I'm Lori Lothian. I'm a whole sign house Hellenistic astrologer. I love asteroids. Also, all of my Patreon community will get this video before anybody on YouTube gets it, with no ads, ad-free. So if you're going to get all of my content early, sign up for my Patreon community. It's like $5 a month plus 2 meetings with me every month. You can unsubscribe anytime if you don't like it, but you're going to get like 20 to 30 videos every month before YouTube gets it for $5. It's my way of bringing you into my community off of the bigger platform, especially if I ever get shut down here on YouTube and I still have a way to contact you guys to say, oh, my flowers are so pretty. I have flowers everywhere. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Venus and Taurus, we are done. And the next month after that, we'll be doing Venus and Gemini. Oh, that's going to be fun. That's where we get into the gender fluidity and the bisexual stuff. Okay. Ciao, everyone.